The mystery of Boruto Uzumaki's mysterious chakra-seeking eye comes to a head in this week's episode. Has he inherited his mother's Byukugan, or something much more sinister? All that and more in this week's episode of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations. Hands down, favorite thing about this episode has got to be Hiashi Hyuga, a character who, before this part of the story, was very stern, very hardcore, and by the books. He's the type of guy that you just wouldn't imagine as being all super lovey-dovey with his kids. That is until he is presented with grandchildren. Getting to see this character react to seeing Himawari and Boruto was frankly just hilarious. I loved the scene where he just completely turned into butter in front of his grandchildren. It was a really funny moment for his character, and it was definitely something that this episode needed, as this one right here was firmly devoted to Boruto Uzumaki and his mysterious eye ability, which might not be the Byukugan, it might not be the Tenseigan, it might be something we haven't even seen before, a brand new mutation, if you will. Another thing that's really great about this episode is how it continues to tie into the greater lore of the Naruto world. Not only do we get to see the return of classic villain Toneri Otsutsuki from Naruto the Last, but we also get some subtle hints that it looks like Kinshiki and Momoshiki are making their way to town. So the main story in this week's episode is that Boruto is desperate to try and figure out what the deal is with his mysterious eye that allows him to see this weird evil chakra which has been making its way through Konoha Village, and he finally decides to tell an adult about it. Not only does Naruto hear about it, but Hinata is there, Shikamaru, they all get to hear his case, and he feels that he's awakened some sort of badass, super powerful ability. But, of course, according to Hinata, Naruto, and the rest of the Hyuga clan, the Byukugan is an ability that you don't just inherit, it's something that you actually have to work for, and this type of training is something that Boruto has not done. But at first he's sort of taking this out on his father, seeing as how his father's just sort of looking down on him. It's not until they actually go to see Grandpa Hiashi that he realizes maybe there's a lot more to this, and I really love this scene. It shows that he does have a lot of respect for his elders, but he just really does not get along with his dad that much. Every single time people talk about the badassery and coolness of his father, he always downplays it by saying that he's just a ridiculous, goofy moron, and in many senses, Naruto is a goofy and ridiculous character. He's just got a lot on his plate at the moment acting as Hokage, which apparently in Konoha Village at this point in time just means doing an assload of paperwork. So Naruto, I completely sympathize with you, but I really do love that we're getting to see more of the family dynamic with Boruto, his mother, and his father, and his incredibly cute and adorable little sister Himawari. Speaking of the Hyuga clan, man, Hanabi has grown up. But enough about fan service. The coolest thing about this episode, of course, is just getting to learn a little bit more about his secret eye technique. I'm also curious as to why it only appears in a single eye. There's clearly something really crazy going on here, and I'm sure it almost seems to have some sort of connection to that dark chakra, or maybe even something to do with those two mysterious forces which are making their way to Earth. In fact, there is a scene in this episode where Boruto is having a dream, and he's actually confronted by Toneri Otsutsuki, and you can tell that they're trying to keep him all mysterious. You don't get to see his face, the fact that he doesn't have any eyes anymore, but he basically gives Boruto a warning that his eyes are going to be incredibly important, and that he's going to have to shoulder the burden of all of the crazy shit which is about to go down, and I love how he takes it all in stride. You know, if this were Naruto, he would be, like, handling this situation in a completely different manner, but Boruto is so thrilled to just be, like, the badass ninja hero that you just can't get help but want to get thrilled for him. Not to mention, there's a scene at the beginning of the episode where he and his friends are watching this really over-the-top ninja movie with this character by the name of Kagemasa, and Boruto is so influenced by this character that halfway through the episode, when he realizes how badass of a hero he's actually going to be, he starts to dress like this guy by wearing these crazy ridiculous sunglasses which just make him look so goofy. He gets over the top with his personality. He's basically ready to be the star of his very own series, and that adds a lot of humor to this episode. But this one right here is mostly just a building up the mysteriousness of his eyes, what they could do, and their connection to what is overall going to be like the big villains of the series. There's so much to get hyped about, and frankly, I can't wait to see where it's going. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? I am so excited to see where the story is going to be going here, because yes, they could be going down the same route of just retelling the story of the Boruto film, but I want to see how this, like, dark chakra monster is actually connected to all of them. I still have a feeling that it has something to do with Mitsuki, and speaking of Mitsuki, apparently his shtick is that he just sort of shows up and pops up randomly, which leads to a lot of really funny reactions from the characters. He's a really slick and powerful ninja, and of course he's going to have an important role in the story as well, but we're going to have to wait till we get to that. This is all about Boruto and building up his character a little bit more, and I'm very excited to see all of it. I especially love that they're paying homage to Naruto the Last by including the character of Toneri, and also building up the fact that Momoshiki and Kinshiki are actually making their way to Earth. I think that's really damn awesome. It makes those movies seem all the more important, and it makes me appreciate them a lot more. But this one right here was just a very humorous episode, especially just getting to see Boruto just stew in all of his badassery, realizing that he has access to an incredible power, and how he's taking it as the sense that, yeah, I'm about to be the Kagemasa of my very own series, and I think that's really great. It just makes him such a more fun character than Naruto was, yet they're both fun in very different ways, and man, I feel for Naruto in this series. You know, he's been knocked down to not being the main character anymore, and he's relegated to being in the background, to be serious most of the time. Everybody expects so much of him, but he just can't shed his weird, ridiculous goofiness. The scenes where Boruto is talking to his friends and telling them he's not as cool as you guys think he is, just him constantly putting his shoes on the wrong way, the goofy expressions of his face where he's not cleanly shaven. He's working himself to death. He needs to take a break, and I want to see more of that family dynamic. I want to see him and Hinata acting as a mother and father to their children. I want more moments like this. Not to mention, it was great to finally see the Hyuga clan again. Like I mentioned, Hiashi was absolutely hilarious in this episode. He started out really funny, but then went back to his typical serious self, and it looks like he's going to have a sparring match with Boruto to either learn a little bit more about his abilities or to possibly draw them out and figure out what they're going to be. Although I have a feeling when it finally does manifest itself, they're not really going to know what it's going to be, and, you know, even by the time the Boruto film came along, like, that thing was practically non-existent. You don't even really see it. It doesn't really make any, like, big appearances until a little later after the film, so I can't wait to see how they're going to incorporate that more into the story and how they're going to build that up a little bit more. I'm also curious to know how much longer this Academy arc is going to go on for, like, if they're really going to extend it as far as they can before we move on to the next portion of the story, which in many senses wouldn't be a bad thing. There's still a ton of new characters that they could build upon, and I'm just really ready to see them, like, get up into their teams. Like, I'm ready to see that Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki dynamic. I want to see all of the teams together, and if they do decide to redo the Boruto movies, which they almost certainly will, especially the way that they're building it up in this episode, I just hope that they do the movie justice, and that's going to be tough because that film is so well animated. I mean, it looks good as shit. As far as I'm concerned, it's got some of the best action in the entire series and some of the best anime action that I've ever seen, period. And that's definitely a reason to check it out. And even if they do make some small changes in the anime arc right here, I still highly recommend the movie in almost every single way. It's just so incredibly exciting. I will say that this is kind of the episode that I was waiting for in the Boruto series, the one that's focusing a little bit more on the main character and some brand new material that we haven't seen before, and of course his mysterious eye. They keep on building it up. As for my theories as to what the actual eye is, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's easy to say Tenseigan, and it does make sense, as he technically does have, like, you know, the Byukugan blood or the Hyuga blood within him. He's also, like, technically a descendant of the Otsutsuki clan and Hagoromo and Hamura. So there is a chance that that sort of, like, manifested, mutated in his body and was able to create this brand new version of Tenseigan or something new like that. It is kind of a cop-out, of course, that Boruto is slowly transforming into, like, the chosen one of the series, just like his father. And I'm not really against the whole Chosen One storyline. I just hate that it happens all the time in series like this. In many ways, this is the passing the torch moment, and it kind of reminds me of when they tried to make Gohan the main character in Dragon Ball Z, except that here they're actually following through with it a little bit more. Naruto is in the background a lot. This truly is Boruto's story, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go and how it's going to be different from the other parts of the Naruto series. It's an exciting time to be a fan of this franchise, as there's a lot of mystery behind it, and they could go to places that the original series never even went. I mean, we're about to get some alien invaders coming in. We have some weird dark chakra monsters. There's a lot of promise for this series, and they can do a lot of things to mix it up. So the hype is certainly real. I liked this episode a lot. I can't recommend it enough. It wasn't like a super exciting episode. There wasn't anything that was too grand or anything. But if you're a fan of the lore of the franchise and want to learn more about it and see how it's going to expand to even greater heights, then this episode is just going to pump you up. It also helped that it had some pretty decent animation and artwork to it, some funny moments, some heartwarming moments, and just some epic moments. So there it is, 5 out of 5 from me. Check it out, Boruto fans. If any of you did watch this week's episode, why don't you tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your theories as to what is going on with Boruto's eye. What is the deal with that special ability? Is it the Tenseigan, the Byukugan, something completely new? How is it connected to these celestial invaders? Were you excited to see Toneri Otsutsuki in this episode? What did you think of Grandpa Hiashi? And what do you want to see from the rest of the brand new Boruto anime series? Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Boruto and Naruto related. Please leave me a comment telling me what you thought about the episode. If you want to talk about anything, got any questions for me, I'm always down for a good conversation. And of course, if you liked this review, please take a second, hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.